Tēnei te mihi mai o hā kia koutou. I'm Jill Day, the Labour Party President. Thank you for coming this morning. I'm delighted to be here alongside our leader, Chris Hipkins. I want to start by thanking all of our candidates who have put their names forward for our party list. It is an honourable thing to do to put yourself forward to represent your community and the people of Aotearoa. We are really proud of the people on our list for 2026. Our 2026 list showcases both the incredible diversity across our community and also the immense depth of talent within Labour. We represent our whole community with the skills and life experiences we need to bring real progressive change. We are delighted to have 4 new candidates here to highlight the diversity and talent of our party list. We have Sophie Hanford, Max Harris, Kingi Kiriona and Te Pūoho Kātini. Our moderating team had a difficult time putting the list together. We have so many talented people in the Labour Party. You will see from our list that we have balanced for gender and broadly for ethnicity. I'm so proud of this list. We have a list that looks like Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'll now hand over to Chris Hipkins.
Well, kia ora everybody, good morning. I want to echo Jill's words and say that I'm really proud of this Labour Party list. It is a list of incredibly talented people who represent Aotearoa. New Zealanders have had a pretty tough couple of years under this government, and we've seen in this year's candidate selection process a lot of Kiwis putting their hands up and say they want to bring an end to this government and they want to be part of building a better future for New Zealand. This is the group of people who we're putting forward today are ready and rearing to go in the contest of this year's election. To just give you an indication of the sort of talent that we have from the top to the bottom of the list. There's 2 Rhodes Scholars, 2 Fulbright Scholars, a couple of them are standing behind me actually, and a variety of experiences in all of our communities up and down New Zealand, from business to farming to the community sector to the public sector, right the way through. You'll see a really rich diversity of candidates that we're putting forward. So it's been a tough job over the weekend. All of the people who have put their names forward are really worthy candidates, but the list that we have assembled is one that I'm incredibly proud of, and I'm looking forward to campaigning alongside everybody who's on this list. We are expecting, based on the list that we're putting out today, that at least 10 new people will come off the list into Parliament after the election, in addition to candidates that we're expecting to win seats. New candidates who are expecting to win seats, so significant renewal, whilst also bringing back that talent and that experience that we have within our existing team. So with that, we're happy, Jill and I both happy to take questions.
No, Greg O'Connor, why he's not on the list?
Greg, I think, indicated after Ohario his seat was disestablished, that he thought that that may well be the end of the road for him. He reflected on that over the weekend himself and made the decision that he didn't wish to, have his name put forward on the list.
Did that relate to his tentative ranking? Was he just putting where he was?
Greg has made this decision for himself, and this has been an ongoing conversation that he's been having with us since his seat was disestablished. Greg was really proud to be the MP for Ohario. He put his heart and soul into that job, and I'll tell you what, he was so well respected out there. No one in the media commentary, and in fact even a few people within the party, were expecting him to win that seat at the last election, given the way the tide went. And he was standing against the deputy leader of the National Party. He held on to that seat because he is so well respected in that community. So it was a really big blow for Greg to have his seat disappear from underneath him, and I think he's taken some time to process that.
So it didn't really disappear from underneath him though. You guys just picked someone else to run it in.
What's that?
I mean, it picked up some of Wellington Central, but the seat didn't disappear. You guys just picked someone else.
Oh, there was a candidate selection process for the new Wellington North electorate.
Greg sent us a statement saying choosing the Labour list is a bit like choosing the Pope. Some would say choosing the Pope is a lot more transparent than selecting the Labour list. Is there an issue with transparency with the process?
No, absolutely not. Look, it is. I think it's quite a witty comment from Greg. He's known for his humour, and it's one of the things that we'll certainly miss about him in our team. But it is, of course, a difficult process as you put the list together at the very end.
What did he do wrong?
Greg didn't do anything wrong. His seat was disestablished, and ultimately he made the decision that he didn't want to have his name considered for the list.
Didn't want to have his name considered for the list?
Well, he didn't want his name. He didn't want his name included in the list.
So when did he make that call?
Oh, over the weekend. But I'm not going to get into every conversation with Greg. Those are private conversations. But Greg made the call for himself.
As part of the list ranking process, he dropped out of it. So
That's
he
right.
didn't like where he was from.
No, as part of this process, he indicated he did not wish to be on the list.
Had he seen his number before he decided to drop out?
I'm not going to get into any of those conversations. Greg's made the decision that he's not wanting to be included in the list. I've already answered that one. Greg's made that decision.
Earlier this year, right, that he was keen to go on the list.
As I said, Greg's taken a wee while to sort of process the fact that his seat was disestablished.
Would you be able to explain to us what goes into assessing, merit and stuff like that when it comes to ranking people on the list? What are you looking for?
So there are many things. We're looking for obviously the skills that people bring, making sure that we have a diversity of skills, life experience, connections with communities, and also that we have the right number of women. We have a goal that we have to have more than 50% women, and so we're assessing that the whole way through the process. We also make sure that we have ethnic diversity, but really it's a whole lot of things that we have to weigh up at the same time, which when you say that, like I just have, it sounds really simple, but it's not. There are so many different factors that we have to take into account, and so it's not comparing people's capabilities with each other, it's the general overview of things that they bring.
Do many candidates spit the dummy when they see their...
They're actually really good, and I guess that fits with the values of the Labour Party. We're here for something that's much greater than us as individuals, and they're actually incredibly, it's humbling seeing people react and be there for the team.
Labour has traditionally been a party of the worker. You noted, Chris Hipkins, you had a number of scholars. That was something that you pointed out in your opening remarks. So sort of academic people and people with community connection. But can you point to people on this list who actually have genuine relationships and have actually worked with the common day worker? And also, can you speak to that from a rural agriculture perspective as well?
Absolutely. So if you take Chris Flatt, one of our new candidates, highly list ranked, he's currently the head of the Dairy Workers Union, one of the larger private sector unions in the country, works with, well, and their job is to advocate for and represent grassroots workers every day. I'll tell you what, if you listened to Ibrahim Omar's speech when he gave his maiden speech in Parliament, he talked about arriving in New Zealand as a refugee and cleaning the lecture theatre the night before he attended his first lecture as a university student. You can't get a better showcase than that of someone who has risen from nothing to being a member of Parliament. And there are plenty of other people on Labour's list and standing in seats across the country who represent those kind of stories.
And what about the agriculture rural aspect of it? I mean, there's a lot of fight already amongst the coalition parties for that vote. Is Labour going to fight for that vote?
So if you look at Peter MacDonald as our candidate in Southland, former representative of Federated Farmers, very environmentally conscious, very committed to Labour's cause. This is his first go-round standing for Labour. I've been so impressed by him. He believes that Labour can be a voice for farmers as well, and I agree with him.
Did you hear the Federated Farmers President interview yesterday?
I've caught the bit where he mentioned me, but I haven't seen the whole interview.
That was about referred to, so that's quite handy. Were you pleased to hear him say that in the last 3 years that the relationship with Labour and Federated Farmers has improved significantly?
Yes, because we've been working on that. I recognise the fact that there'll be many farmers who have a tribal loyalty to another political party, but I want to lead a government for all New Zealanders, and that means representing and working on behalf of those who don't vote for us as well as those who do. And so a good working relationship with those who don't necessarily vote our way is also really important. So, and I regard many in the farming community in that category. So we've worked hard on building a more constructive working relationship there.
Do you want Deborah Russell to return home?
Absolutely.
Given she's running a list only, why is she ranked number 27 when that could be a risky spot depending on how many seats you win?
Oh, I'm absolutely confident Deborah Russell will be back in Parliament on those numbers. She's a very, very valuable member of our team.
Why is she going list only?
Ultimately, her seat was also disestablished at the election.
Did you not want
at the last boundary review, rather. What was that?
Did you not want to hear any other seats that replaced you?
Oh, there's a candidate selection process through all of that. Deborah's a very valuable member of our team, and I'm sure that she will contribute really strongly as a list MP.
Your highest ranked non-MP, Rakesh Naidu, is not here. I assume that's because he's a serving member of the police.
Yeah. So look, I'll speak to that. I'm really excited to have Rakesh Naidu joining us. He's a real catch for the Labour Party. He has such a wealth of experience. He's a very senior sworn police officer. He's got a depth of experience working with Māori, working with Pacific, working with our ethnic communities across the country where he's got very deep connections. He has a lot of thoughts about how we can build an inclusive, safe, welcoming Aotearoa. He's not going to be joining us on the campaign trail immediately. He's got some things to finish up with the police. So he's currently having a conversation with the Commissioner of Police about what that transition is going to look like. And so he will join us once that is complete. So those conversations are ongoing.
When did he inform the Commissioner?
Before the weekend, so that the Commissioner was aware before the
When
weekend.
did he start going through the process of becoming a candidate?
I'm not going to go into all of those details, but he's been upfront with his employers
Do you
about
believe
his
he's
involvement.
informed the Commissioner of the earliest opportunity to the police policy?
Well, I mean, he's been considering it for a while. Once he was clear that he wanted to go ahead with it, he informed the Commissioner.
So is that at the earliest opportunity?
Oh, look, I'm very confident in the level of integrity that he has displayed through this process, and I've certainly had no feedback from the police to the contrary.
Has it been put on leave by the police?
Those are questions for the police. By law, he will have to finish up with the police by no later than nomination day. But how they manage that, recognising, as I do, and I absolutely respect the need for the police to be well above politics and completely impartial, those are questions that the Commissioner will work through. He has my absolute support as he does that.
Do you know if he's had any sensitive briefings since he began thinking about becoming a candidate or going through the process of becoming a candidate?
Those are, again, questions for the Commissioner. I have absolute confidence in the Commissioner managing that process.
When are we going to hear from Rakesh?
When he's finished with the police, and that's something that he will identify with the Commissioner. And for good reasons, he's not participating in any of these, other than the process over the weekend. He's not participating in anything with the Labour Party until that is finished.
You mentioned Peter McDonald as someone who could represent rural communities for Labour. Is he going to be an MP?
Oh, he's a very strong voice. I mean, not everybody who's on the Labour Party list. Well, if we do very, very well, he may be.
How confident are you that Labour will unseat some of the electorates that are held by the Greens, the likes of Tamika Paul, Julianne Jenter, Chloe Swarbrick?
Well, we respect the Greens, and we work very cooperatively with them. But in those seats, we are competing with them, and we'll be competing vigorously.
Do you expect to win Wellington Bays, and if not, why is Craig Rennie so far down the list?
I absolutely expect to win Wellington Bays.
Chris Hipkins, Warwick Klein, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, chap has been in Vietnam for 27 years.
Yes.
KPMG. Yeah. How did he become to be on the Labour list?
Warwick's been a member of the Labour Party for over 30 years. He's born and bred on the west coast of New Zealand, a strong Labour Party background. And has been involved and supportive of Labour for some time. He brings a skill set to the Labour Party. Sorry, I might just have a little water for a minute. A lot of talking in the weekend.
With Greg?
Don't be unnecessary. Warwick brings a skill set to the Labour Party that is really valuable to us, and I think, again, is another big scoop for us to be able to get him. So he has really extensive corporate sector experience. And, that is something that the Labour Party doesn't often have in its senior ranks. So I'm really excited to have him on board.
Given that he's been...
Oh no, just when's he likely to be coming back?
Well, he's another one of those people who's got to work through a bit of a process there. He's been working through that already, well in advance of this. So soon as he's finalised those, obviously, in addition to winding up the work that he's doing, he's also got to relocate. So he's working through that now.
There's a number of your sitting MPs who are quite far down the list: Rachel Boyer, Helen White, Edward Leary, Phil Twyford, Arlena Williams. Why are those so far down?
All of them have higher list rankings than they did last time. So all of them are MPs who are expected to win their seats. When we put the list together, we're always mindful that the list is an opportunity for us to showcase some of the new talent that we want to bring into Parliament, which does mean that those, and I've been in this camp myself, those who hold seats that they're expected to win don't always get some of those higher spots, where those spots are really about showcasing some of the new potential people coming in. It is absolutely no reflection on them. They're expected to win their seats, and they're still going to be very valuable members of our team.
How do you get new candidates when they don't know what policy you're running on?
Look, people stand for the Labour Party because they believe in the values of the Labour Party, because they believe in a more inclusive New Zealand, because they believe in a more collective action. The values of the party don't change. Policies change from election to election, but the values don't.
So have you had conversations with all of the candidates as to whether they support all of your upcoming policies that you're yet to announce?
That is part of the deal. When you stand up to be a candidate, you're signing up to support the policies of the party. And the policies of the party go through a robust internal process themselves.
Which seats, or could you identify a handful of seats that you're really targeting and trying to flip into Labour hands?
As many as we possibly can. And, we're out to win every seat that we can, and we're out to get every vote that we can, recognising that even in some of those seats where it'd be a very long shot for Labor to win the seat, there's still a lot of party votes that we can win in those seats, and our candidates play a really valuable role in doing that.
So you mentioned before you were thinking Wellington Bays. What about Hutt South? Are there others like that you think realistically you have a chance?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Ginny Anderson will win Hutt South. Absolutely. She's my next door neighbour MP, or next door neighbour candidate at the moment. I fully expect her to be my neighbouring MP after the election.
And what makes you confident about Craig Reedy?
Craig's running an outstanding campaign. It's a seat that Labor's held for a very, very long time, bar the last election. And he's running a very strong campaign to win it back, and I'm confident that he's going to do that.
How important was, how much of a priority, Senator for you and Jill, was given to renewal in this election, because, you know, four behind you plus others, like, there has actually been a reasonable amount of turnover, relatively high on the list.
Yeah. I'll make a brief comment, then I'll get Jill to do the same. We've obviously had a number of MPs leave since the last election, and so that's created some gaps for us in our caucus that we've been aiming to fill, and that does involve some renewal. But you'll see that our sitting MPs have also been well respected in this process as well. We really respect the contribution that they bring. We're going to be working hard to get them all of our existing MPs who are on the list back into Parliament, and the list that we put together makes that a realistic possibility. So we'll be working hard to achieve that.
Thank you, and I think it will be fair to acknowledge that politics goes in cycles, and we've had, 2023 we lost a number of people, and with our current polling we will be bringing new people in, and so it's an opportunity to take hold of that, and also to set our party up for the future. Our new caucus many of them will be there for 15, 20 years, and this is the opportunity to put a team together that is truly representative of Aotearoa.
And another question for you: what sort of vetting do Labor MPs go through? What are the main things that you dig into to check that fit and proper and appropriate people?
So we've added to our process in this particular election, and we've identified that people's online presence now actually goes back a long way, and it's really important that we have in-depth conversations with people, and so we had an interview process before people were even able to step forward to be considered to be selected as a candidate, and that was really helpful because it gave us an opportunity to have conversations with them, and also we did do background vetting checks, which we do a bit of our own research, and it's important that we do that because it also prepares people for the fact that they need to understand their responsibility, and we take that very seriously.
O tērā pēr engari kai konei au ki te whakataetai mo te tūru. A tuatahi ake me ki pēnei, nō ku te honore, nō māua ko te puoho, te honore, i te nui o te tautoko mai a ngā rangatira o te pāti, i pēnei ai tō māua waimaria i runga i te rārangi. Kā mutu ki te ata te tiro tātou ki te rārangi, ka marama te kite e whakamānawatia nui tia ana te Māori i runga i te rārangi. E toru ngā Māori kei te rārangi tahi ki te kau. Kei te rārangi, kei te wahanga arataki o te pāti. Nō reira he tohu nui tērā. Toko rima kei roto i te rua te kau. Ko māua, ana, hei hoa, a moena kei runga i te rārangi. Nō reira, kei konei e tūana i runga i te ngākau whakaiti i tēnā momo whakaaro nui mai. Engari, mo te āhuatanga ki tō pātai, kei konei māua ki te whakataetai mō māua tūru. Nā te mea, kei te pirangi o tātou iwi ki tētahi kāwanatanga, kāre nei o nā raruraru.
Māua te kōrero e pāna ki te whiwhi tēnei tūranga kei runga i runga i te rārangi, me te kaha tautoko o rāua o rātou ngā kaiwhakahaere o te pāti. Engari, ko te mea nui, me ū ki te tirohanga whaiti ki ngā tūru, kia āta moho ai ngā hāpuri kei konei māua, mātou katoa, e whakaheke tōtā, e kaha whakamahi ana ki o rātou taha, hei pana i tēnei kāwanatanga, mo tātou katoa.
Hengi, you did a social media video last week in the context of the budget, where you had spoken to businesses. One of the businesses you spoke to, you said, had suggested tax relief what tax relief will Labor be offering businesses?
There will be a list of policy announcements that will be coming out in the coming days. I mean, we as candidates have been canvassing our regions and our communities. It was actually quite an interesting reaction and interaction with that particular member of the community in Hamilton. What we're sensing is a mood for change. So the comment in and of itself came in that context. There's a mood for change as a suggestion for the party to consider, but there will be policy announcements coming out in the coming
Will
days.
any of those policies be tax relief for businesses?
I gather there will be some tax relief policies to be announced.
Yeah.
I'll leave that to the leadership to comment on.
When exactly is your first policy announcement post-budget?
We've got an announcement coming up later this week.
Is that tax relief for businesses?
Look, we've got plenty of policy coming. You'll just have to wait and see.
I'm just keen to talk about the strategy around the Māori seats. I noticed Willie Jackson's here. I don't know if you want to come and have a chat about it or whether you want to speak to him.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of the seats, you're obviously looking to win them all back, right? How much time and energy have you already been putting into that? And what have you been doing differently to convince people that Labor should get those seats back?
Oh, we're working hard in all of those Māori electorates, and you've got two of the candidates here now who are running incredible ground games already. We've seen a big surge in volunteer support in the Māori electorates. We've got a really active ground game. That is how we will win those seats back. So the candidate selections are now all done, and you'll see that reflected in the party list as well.
So what lessons have you learned from when you lost those seats? Because take, for example, the Nayamata losing to Hana Rapiti Clark. She was quite honest after the fact that she got completely beaten and smashed through social media and that grassroots ground game. So have you learned that lesson, and are you going to apply that across the board? And what does that actually look like? Does it mean just being really prolific on social media, or does it go beyond that?
Oh, look, our whole campaign is going to look and feel quite different to the campaign we ran last time in the Māori seats and in the general seats as well. We had a social media edge in 2020. By 2023, that social media edge, we'd lost that. So we needed to do some rebuilding to get that back. We've done that, and now we're well and truly outperforming every other political party in our social media presence at the moment, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done to achieve that. But, social media is a very rapidly evolving space, and you've got to move fast. So in terms of the impressions and engagement, which is what you measure, social media performance based on, we're outperforming all of the other parties in Parliament.
The main thing that I guess becomes a problem, though, is the concept of, well, if someone's going to get into the Labour Party anyway through the list, then we should give our vote elsewhere so that we get the 2-for-1 thing. How are you going to get around that and convince people that actually you should get your MPs in and actually holding those seats, or actually does it not matter if they're in the ring?
In a general election campaign, that becomes less of an issue than it is in a by-election. So it was clearly an issue for Peeni Hinari and the Tamaki Makaurau by-election. We haven't generally found that is the same conversation in a general election campaign, and it hasn't been the same conversation in the Māori electorates either. All right, that might be.
Question.
Yeah, sure.
Do you think is it appropriate for senior ministers to accuse a public sector chief executive of seeking to politically undermine the National Party through the development of policy?
They'd have to have very good grounds to do that. I've seen no evidence that anybody senior within the public service has done that.
Andrew McKenzie from Kaimura wrote a letter to the board chair of the agency shortly before his redundancy, making that claim, saying that Nicola Willis and Chris Bishop had made accusations to that effect. Nicola Willis isn't talking about it, Kaimura isn't, public service commission. Do you think there should be more transparency around that?
I think the accusation itself, I've met Andrew McKenzie plenty of times, interacted with him as a minister, found him to be a very professional, apolitical public servant. I think the accusation itself undermines the political neutrality of the public service. There's a two-way agreement here, which is that the public service should protect the political neutrality of the whole process, but that means ministers also need to respect that process, and attacking public servants in that way does undermine their ability to preserve a politically neutral public service who can serve any government.
Mrs. McKenzie received a redundancy payment, but also a special payment in lieu of notice. There was no explanation at the time as to why that was the case. Do you think people should know whether that is connected to the remarks that Nicola Willis and Chris Bishop were alleged to have made?
If he is being paid compensation because of remarks being made by senior government ministers, then the senior government ministers should accept responsibility for that, and they should be accountable for that.
I see that your sign says your job, your health, your home. Is that the slogan, or is it jobs, health, homes?
Well, I think you'll see jobs, health and homes all represented in that there. There'll be plenty of variations of our campaign material as we head through the campaign.
Does your super scheme that's contributed to by Parliament own your holiday home?
Yes.
Can you just explain how that works in terms of whether any money that goes into that super scheme can be used to pay off the mortgage on that home?
It's a savings scheme, so yes, it can be. And it's just the same as you contribute to a managed fund, for example.
So do you think New Zealanders will be comfortable with that taxpayer money being used to pay off the mortgage on your holiday home?
Well, ultimately, it's my money. It's my retirement savings, and so I'm investing my retirement savings.
But you do get a greater amount because you're a parliamentarian. Most Kiwis won't get that greater amount. I think it's $2.50 for every dollar that you put in. You think that's fine? People will be fine with that?
I'm very grateful that we as members of Parliament do get what I think is a very generous retirement savings scheme, and I acknowledge it as more generous than most members of the public get, and I'm very grateful for that.
Do you think that setup is consistent with the Labour Party view that savings should go into a productive economy?
This is a holiday home that my family has owned for about 40 years. I feel very fortunate that I'm in a position where I can have a holiday home, and I don't begrudge any other New Zealanders who have that. I think that's a different argument to the fact that we have a sort of a default setting in New Zealand where people own lots of rental properties, and that's been a sort of a default and reliable form of investment for a lot of families, and they have gone into that market with all of the right intentions, but we do need to tilt the playing field away from that.
Do you pay the maximum into that super scheme?
I also contribute to KiwiSaver.
Do you get the maximum, I guess, entitlement from the taxpayer?
Between that and my KiwiSaver, yes.
Do you think that those settings are fair?
I'd like more of a focus on retirement savings for all New Zealanders, and I think that there's certainly more opportunity for us to do more in that space.
So what, KiwiSaver should match parliamentarians?
Look, you'll hear more from us on KiwiSaver in due course. As I've said, the current government have announced increases in KiwiSaver contribution rates, and I fully support that.
But do you think employer contributions should be 250 to 1?
In an ideal world, employer contribution rates would be higher.
So, just very specifically, do you think employer contribution rate should be $2.50 to $1?
I'm not making that commitment, but I would like to see higher retirement savings rates.
So then why should parliamentarians get it if other New Zealanders don't?
Members of Parliament, the salaries that members of Parliament get are high by the standards of everyday New Zealanders, and I absolutely acknowledge that.
So sorry, why should you get it and every other New Zealander doesn't?
Well, because it's part of the overall rates of pay that members of Parliament get, and that does include our superannuation. And I absolutely am the first to acknowledge that our members of Parliament's pay, including superannuation, is higher than for most of the New Zealand public.
Is it fair?
My goal is to raise the incomes of all New Zealanders.
So, is your goal to level that playing field?
Oh, the more that we can grow salaries and wages for all New Zealanders, the better.
But you're not willing to give up anything to level the playing field?
Oh, I have in the past. We cut MPs' pay during COVID-19, and I was one of the ministers that advocated for that.
Are you willing to bring that ratio down from $2.50 down to $1 matching?
I mean, we don't ultimately make that decision. Those decisions are made by the Remuneration Authority.
No, that's not true. Parliament sets the rules for the Remuneration Authority, and they just set the rates. So you can direct the Remuneration Authority, and all of the legislation is decided by Parliament.
Yeah, it's not something that we've looked at.
Would you look at it? You're looking at other entitlements.
We are looking at the accommodation allowances at the moment. I think there are some real issues there that go beyond just sort of unfairness. There's some issues there around the appropriateness of that scheme, and we are looking very closely at that.
Would you look at this?
It's not something that we're intending to look at.
Jill, you mentioned in your remarks before this MPs coming in could be here for 15 to 20 years. That seems quite a long time. Why would you want MPs to be coming in for 2 decades?
They could be, they may not be, but we acknowledge the fact that some people do stay for longer. There's a variation. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but we know that, for some of them they will stay for a wee while, and that's an important thing to acknowledge.
Is there a good incentive for them to stay for 2 decades?
Not for everybody. It's individual. For every elected member, they work out what works for them, and we support them through that. But we're acknowledging that we're in a change process where we have got new people coming in, and we're really excited about that.
What do you think of the idea of an MP dorm?
I'm not going to get into
Don't
that.
your opinion.
Yeah.
Queensland does it.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to get into that.
But what's wrong with it?
I think MPs should have Wellington accommodation that's appropriate to their needs to be in Wellington when they're serving as members of Parliament in Wellington, and we'll have more to say about that in due course.
Should it be restricted to hotels?
We're going to have more to say about that. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. After you guys.